There's some sound. Okay.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Check it.
Hello, Jai Guru. Excuse me. Oh, just had the burp. Had big meal of lots of bean soup,
Ready?
healthy stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And it's real. What? No, it was real soup. Illusory soup. There's nothing. Last week you said nothing is not in the bubble of illusion.
Yeah, yeah. All experience, all speaking, all bodies, world, everything, all is within the bubble of illusion. Only you are ultimate truth.
Yeah.
Everything that appears disappears.
But I,
It
it,
can't
yeah,
it can't be truth because if it appears and disappears, then when you disappear, that would be the end. But there has to be something. After everything is finished, there you are.
yeah. And you don't disappear. Huh?
Well, you couldn't.
Well, how do you know you don't disappear?
It's the constant.
Yeah.
All the illusory layers, and then there's something that all these illusory layers are on your spontaneous presence that you are. In meditation, you know, and that's that black hole of existence is once you go beyond the sense of presence. Because sense of presence, okay, I feel this, I identify with this, I'm more like presence than I am with the body. That eliminates the thought flow. So now you're in a very nice, selfless, self intoxicated state. And the more you remain there, the understanding will come. It will just come that
Yeah, yeah.
whether this presence is here or not, I am.
Yeah, I figure it has to just come. It's not something you can it just has to come by just like the self of self-intoxication. It comes and it just just like I
That's
guess
why you can't get held up on selfless self intoxication, because
yeah,
that's a very easy stage to stop,
yeah,
where you're just like, oh, this is bliss. I can now go around in the world because I have no thought. And I just feel this peace, this overwhelming bliss all the time.
yeah,
And you may think, this is amazing. This is wonderful. But if you stop here,
yeah,
then you'll be so satisfied. And again, this presence is within the illusion. So you'll be so satisfied with the overwhelming bliss. And I mean, who wouldn't want to go from
yeah,
regular so-called daily living where you have thoughts and worries and problems and you really believe you might die and you really believe that you might get sick and all this sort of thing. And then you go to this heaven, basically,
yeah,
where there's no thought train. You're just in absolute bliss and it's just pure. And all your awareness is just on this pure, absolute, beautiful, amazing, selfless self intoxication. And yes, that's kind of the treat. As Sri Ramakant Maharaj says, they give little treats or a sweet. And yet you will know just intuitively whether presence is or is not, I am.
yeah.
If you get caught up in the presence too much and you get caught up in the bliss and you get caught up in the peace, you may want to go shout from the rooftops about how amazing the experience is. But remember, no experience, no experiencer. All experience has appeared to that you are. And if an experience can appear, it'll disappear. And also, it puts you in that pain and pleasure principle. It puts you in the concept of time because you need an instrument to experience the bliss and the peace.
Mhm.
Whereas when you're with your own self, bliss and peace can be there, but you're not chasing it.
Huh. Is that about the point where you experience what
There's no experience.
could be called death? Is that what when we say we die, that's when that awareness that you are not known.
But
Uh,
death, as far as from the mind perspective, because remember, the mind came along with the body. So there comes a state or a time where mind is not useful anymore
yeah.
because mind can't give images or pictures or words prior to beingness because
Uh,
mind only knows illusion.
only
Everything that goes through mind and flows through mind is about the illusory world, the illusory person you believe yourself to be, and the objects that you're seeing, interpreting through mind and labeling them with words. But mind can't say, oh, now I would like to go and find myself, because mind is just an add on.
it's all after the fact. Experiences after the fact.
Well, mind came along with the body. You're
Yeah.
prior to the body because you're prior to the presence, and presence is felt through the body. So you, again, as Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, recede, 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 recede until you cannot recede anymore because that's it. There's no more receding. Or Sri Ramakant Maharaj says, all illusory layers are dissolved. There's fire burning. Ash is removed. Fire's burning. Fire is you, your own selfless self. All the illusion was covering, but only for a time. Now, no illusion, because you're not paying attention to the mind, trying to interpret things through words and form. Because you know you're formless and wordless. You're prior to the first word, prior to the first form, prior to the concept of formlessness.
So there you would lose, I would think. I mean, I guess I experience some of this, less attraction rather than a lot of attraction, less attraction. But the attraction for relative experience is replaced by a value, which seems like a value greater than the relative experience.
I mean, you're just living again. It's scenes appearing before you and disappearing. You don't really call them experience because you're not really
Yeah.
like taking the touch of them. It's literally just scenes appearing and disappearing. Just like when we came on today, boom, a screen comes up. They're speaking. Then this will finish, and that's it. It's a scene that appears and disappears and appears and disappears, and that's it. There's not a lot of that's how everything actually is, as long as you're not trying to identify and trying to grasp or grab. Like Maharaj says, you weren't born with pockets, but yet we, as a body form, we want to pocket everything. This is mine, mine, my this, my that, my house, my wife, my car, my stuff, my job,
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
But if you know yourself in a real sense, these scenes appear and disappear, but you're not pocketing them. You're not grasping these experiences. You're not holding on to the illusion. Much like, again, we always go back to dream. When you wake up in the morning, no matter how beautiful the dream was or how scary it was or whatever, you're not holding on to it. You're not like, oh, I have to go back to sleep and get back in that dream. Because even if it's a beautiful dream, you know, okay, even if it was possible to jump back into the dream in the moment that you were experiencing the bliss, it's illusion. What's the point?
Mhm.
And when you know yourself in a real sense, no matter the experience, no matter the seeming ups or downs or whatever, it's just scenes. Scenes appear and disappear, scenes appear and disappear. Be in them in the moment.
Mhm.
You get hungry, like you said, oh, I have a nice meal. Okay, good, good. As Maharaj says, don't take anything too much because everything in excess is poison. Food, you eat too much food, you get big and fat, your arteries start to fail, whatever, body, it's not good for the body. You eat everything, moderation, okay? Even water. You don't want to drink too much water, but you drink just enough water. Moderation. You're not doing anything to excess, including spirituality. That's why Maharaj says you shouldn't sit on a mountain and be like, okay, I am totally serene. I am meditating. I am one with everything until a bird comes by and poops on you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then suddenly, oh, the oneness is shattered. Because again, that's
That's
everything
not
to excess.
didn't last. It's not going to last.
Exactly. When you know yourself in a real sense, it's just a, I don't even want to say symbiotic, but just everything is just scenes. There's no heaviness to it.
It's interesting to me. I've been occurring to me lately that week after week, it's kind of like a repetition of, like, say, our meetings in each week or each other week. Um, it's like there's something very similar to it's not it's just the same scene almost like
Yeah,
um
because we're not speaking about concepts, and anytime a concept arises, it gets blasted right away.
hmm,
If we sat here and talked about, if we discussed about like Das Bod and the ins and outs of Das Bod, or we discussed about the Gita and all the ins and outs of Gita, you could be
hmm,
here forever. Each little talk would be totally different. People would come
yeah,
and they'd say, "Oh, I'm learning so much knowledge, and oh, it's so beautiful. We're speaking about the Gita and all this," but this is not reality.
yeah.
When you speak about reality, there's nothing to say. And we're saying the same thing every week because there's nothing to say about anything.
Yeah,
The
that's what
idea is when all concepts are discarded, there you are.
I was gonna say it is I mentioned last week or week before or last time week or the time before that it's embarrassing that I don't get it yet totally,
But
but
the you that doesn't get it doesn't matter.
uh,
Truly, the you that doesn't get it is, as we talked about years ago, the bump on the butt of selfless self.
uh,
That's what each individual thinking themselves to be individual is really just an annoyance
uh,
because this is the one that's disturbing the peace.
uh,
And yet you can hold the body knowing yourself in a real sense and not disturb the peace because you're no longer holding, grasping. Concepts can't stick. There's nothing to stick to. You don't even have the concept that there's like a body here. It's you just scenes are appearing and disappearing and appearing and disappearing. You're in traffic, then you're not in traffic. Then you're sitting in your house, then you're not sitting in your house. Then you're at work, then you're not at work. Then you're eating lunch, then you're not at lunch.
So embarrassment is only relevant to the concept of embarrassment. It's really like,
Embarrassment, you definitely have to have an object from which to be embarrassed.
mm,
That doesn't mean like don't put on deodorant or comb your
mm.
hair or something like that. It's
Then
just the simple fact of you're not self-conscious because there's no self anymore. That little self, because you're not paying attention to the mind flow and saying, I wonder what people think, or I wonder how this is, or how do I look, or any of these things. And yet, again, you can check yourself before you go out. You say, okay, this shirt matches and my shoes match or whatever. I'm going out. I'm going to go do this. When I go for work, I dress appropriately for that. When I go to the beach, I dress appropriately for that. But again, these aren't taking identity.
but or else like if your shoes don't match, then you're embarrassed. And then my thoughts don't match your thoughts, so I'm embarrassed. But actually it's
Well,
uh,
there is no your thoughts and my thoughts. There's a mind flow with identification that you grab a thought out of the thin air, so to speak. Because when you know yourself in a real sense, you no longer believe that thoughts are coming in here. You know what I mean? Like when before you knew yourself, you'd say, inside this
Yeah.
is a mind, and inside the mind, it's like a little machine that's gathering thoughts. This is not true, because if you're formless, how?
Yeah, that's the
It's a flow
memory.
of thoughts identified as John's thoughts. Let me pick this thought out of the thin air and make it John's. Even though it's not John's thought, but I'm personalizing it because of my concept of individuality. It's John's thought. It's a thought for John. Your manager doesn't think you're working hard enough. Did the manager come over to you and say you're not working hard enough? If so, that's the reality. Okay, then you work harder. But if you're sitting at your desk and he looks over at you and you say, oh, he thinks you're not working hard enough, this is not reality. And this is identification with a body form and a thought of, I'm not working hard enough, or he believes I'm not working hard enough. Just like that watch, when a manager says, please come into my office at the end of the day before you leave, I just want to talk to you, and then says nothing more. If you're identified with a body form, the flow of thoughts, what's happening, what did I do? You start going over all these things because of identification with the body, grabbing thoughts and personalizing them. And usually when you go, the reality is he says, oh, I need you to do something next week with so-and-so, or I'm hiring a new person and I need them to come in. None of that was a thought that you had. You had all thoughts personalized about yourself, and you were living them because, again, you're formless. So just like a dream, where you're experiencing a dream because you're formlessly sort of creating, as you're experiencing all the troubling things that might happen, again, you're fully experiencing them using the instrument of body, ego, intellect, and mind. But they're not true. So why do all that? Know yourself in a real sense. When a scene appears, be fully there. Do your job, do your duties. Take care of all your responsibilities. When a scene leaves, okay, bye-bye. Channel surfing. Very good example. You're channel surfing. And what's even more beautiful is you can channel surf, be totally involved in the moment. And yet when the channel goes away, new moment, totally involved in that moment. Because whatever's in front of you. When you're having breakfast, you eat your breakfast. Concentrate on breakfast. Enjoy the breakfast. When it's lunch, same thing. Whatever you happen to be experiencing in the moment, you know there's no experience, no experiencer. This is an illusory layer on your spontaneous presence. Do your job, do your duties, take care of your responsibilities, and finish.
It's less likely that you will have negative reactions, to things. It'd be more
Or it could
easy
be
to go.
negative. You go outside. Let's say you check the weather. Not supposed to rain. You go outside and you're waiting somewhere or walking to your office and it pours down rain on you. You have no umbrella. This is a negative experience, yes? No matter how spiritually you are, you're wet. You're not going to enjoy that. But you're also not going to make a big deal about it either. You're going to go, maybe dry off, and continue your day. If you identify with it as I'm getting wet, bad things always happen to me. Even the thing lied, the weather lied and told me it was going to be sunny and it was raining on me and it's just bad and everything's bad and it never happens the way you want it to happen.
That's what I mean
Just
by
grabbing.
Yeah.
That's the negativity, grabbing illusory thoughts, but that's also serious identification. And that just requires more meditation, more remaining with yourself as self, so that that recognition in the projection, that spontaneous, oh, so that I am that. As Sri Ramakant Maharaj always says, spontaneous conviction. Conviction comes. Once you're convinced that you are a man, you are never going to think, oh, I might be pregnant. I'm having very bad stomach pains. I might be pregnant. No, because you're convinced you're a man. This is not going to happen. So when you're convinced that you're formless, Oh, this thing, the doctor just said that, I have to start taking this medicine because my blood pressure is high and all this sort of thing. Okay, I take the medicine because the doctor said, but I know myself in a real sense. The fear of death is not going to come crowding in where suddenly I'm like, whoa, and you go overboard. Again, everything to excess.
If you think you're a body and a man, then you're sort of like convicting yourself to being a man
Well, the whole idea is the
without
conviction.
being aware of it.
When you say, I'm convinced of something, yes? And when you're convinced that you are the selfless self, and all this is just illusion, just like, again, conviction. When you wake up in the morning, you are convinced that you were dreaming everything that was occurring, no matter how beautiful the experience was. Maybe you were within the dream, you can experience being wet, swimming, sun, the feeling of sun on your face. You can experience cold, all of it. But when you wake up, you are convinced it was just a dream. And when you know yourself in a real sense, you are convinced all of this is just illusory layers on your spontaneous presence. And yet, it's not a bad thing. It's not like, oh my God, the whole thing's illusion. So,
Mhm.
no, it's just like, okay, now I know. I don't take things so seriously.
Just
I'm not
as
worried about all these problems or all this sort of thing. A problem comes, quote unquote. I look, I see what needs to be done in the moment, and I move on.
it's still kind of it's still kind of amazing that that even this is going that these appearances are coming on. It's like and then okay, the bliss is amazing if that happens to be here, but it's also kind of amazing that there's things happening appearing. Period. Isn't that kind of amazing?
Well, it's a miracle, just the sense of existence, and suddenly, I mean, that you can even sense this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This whole illusory experience is a miracle.
Yeah.
Just like when you lay down to sleep at night and you've created an entire dream world, populated it, there's conversations going on.
Mhm.
You've created a world and people like
It's amazing. Yeah.
every night. That is a miracle.
Yeah.
And it all came formlessly. Even though within the dream, you could knock on a computer just like, oh, sorry. That's the wake word, so I don't want to use that word. But you could knock. It's hard, right? Well, how did it become hard? Through formlessness, because that you are. And that is the amazing power of this all.
Mhm.
So much so that you can become lost.
Uh,
The illusion becomes very, very real. You get lost in the illusion very easily because it is so amazing.
uh,
And it does appear for a time as real. Unfortunately, it also comes along with if I believe I'm a body and I'm experiencing this world, if I can experience, then I can experience death.
yeah.
I can experience pain and suffering and all these sort of things, rather than these are coming on your spontaneous presence and they're going. But you are remaining,
Mm.
going to sleep, deep sleep, dream, waking up, waking world. All of these are just appearances on your spontaneous presence. Whether this body is or is not, you are. Because you know that when you do meditation, whether presence is or not, you are. How do you know this? Because presence can be sensed. Presence is an object in your awareness. So therefore, presence is or is not, you are. Well, body is presence together. So body is or is not, you are. Whether you feel your presence or not, you are. just not what you thought you were or how you appear, because no appearance is your own self. Or you could say all appearances is your own self, because just like in a dream, it arises from you.
It just as I mentioned earlier that bliss comes or whatever, so also appearances just come. That we but we get the idea that they last or somehow are like their own self-existence, but they just come within, I guess, within me, which is not limited to any of what appears.
It's imagination using the five elements to put together form and then creating little form stories. Again, back to dream. You use the concept of the five elements in a dream to create body forms and to create all these sort of things and then experience them, including a form for your own self.
But the five elements are not just concepts, are they? There's
Nothing is except your own self. So, yes, five elements are concept.
oh,
The building blocks of illusory form.
yeah, I guess it's a little bit expanded version of what I think of concepts as being limited to just thought identifications, but or
Well,
like
again,
I
in a
guess
dream, the bodies are thought, correct? Because
yeah,
they're definitely not a
and
form.
they're
They
identified.
appear
Their
they
identification.
appear as a form, but they are definitely not forms. You are not in your dream somehow using clay
Yeah.
and making little clay people, breathing life into them and having them run around.
Yeah,
They're formless.
yeah,
You're creating form, the concept of form. So, of course, the five elements are a concept because they're not true.
yeah, yeah. Weird. That's
Always,
because
always
we
go back to the
feel them.
concept of dream. Because in a dream, you create a world just like you do in the waking state, but you know it's dream because you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, it's just a dream. The waking up is to know yourself in a real sense, and you will look at the waking world in the exact same way. And then you'll ask, oh, what about the five elements? Well, five elements are creating the form based illusion in your dream, whether it's waking dream or sleepy dream. Same, because it's just one consciousness. Consciousness, the presence, just creating. It's only when you identify with a certain form and you say, oh, this is happening to me, or I'm born now, I'm going to die, the timeline of the body. But you're not going to die, you're not going to be born. You weren't born, you can't die. Can't be cut, can't be sectioned off. Presence is being aware is same. Presence is being aware is same. No, you're aware of awareness is presence, it consciousness. In other words, everything happens within consciousness, the bubble of illusion. Awareness within the bubble of illusion, you're aware of objects and you're also aware of the sense of presence on which the illusion appears. But you, the you are, that, this, here's presence, whether presence is or is not, I am. Presence, objects, layers of illusion, objects, presence, awareness. Nothing, but not nothing as a concept.
So even the presence is a concept then.
Of course, the first concept, I exist.
because it feels, I think of concepts as being thoughts rather than feelings, but that's
Well,
just
it's a thought. I
like,
exist.
yeah, thoughts and
There's a
feelings are kind of the same identifications.
whatever. If you in breaking everything down, it's either illusion or it's your own self.
Yeah.
You can't know yourself because you are yourself. Can't see yourself because you are yourself. Can't experience yourself because you are yourself. So it's either illusion or yourself.
An illusion cancels out self in a felt sense.
Illusion is just a layer. Again, the fire,
Yeah, yeah.
the fire self, burning brightly, no matter what. Illusory layers, all the ash covering, now you can't see or, quote, feel. That's why in religion they talk about light. Light is presence. It's the same. Sensing, presence, light.
Mm.
All these are just words and come along with the body.
Well, it's kind of an experience too, because sometimes I experience it seems like light, but
But
it's just
again, no experience, no experiencer. It comes along with the body. It's
yeah,
illusion.
right, right.
But the word light is the same as presence because well, it's very difficult to describe like this sense of presence or like it says this light, the light of the world. What is the light of the world? The light of the world is the presence. All of this is projected. So the presence and the light are two words for the same thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
But again, they're illusion because ultimate truth, there's no experience, no experiencer, no witness, no witnesser. Nothing is there. Not the concept of nothing, nothing. No thing, nothing. Except your selfless self, no God, no Brahman, no Paramatman, no master.
Does it feel like like you're at the gravity? Does gravity have any meaning to what we're talking about? Like the
Gravity
foundational.
is definitely within the bubble of illusion.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the most you could say is there's two eyes, sort of, and you're not even really connected with the eyes. There's just a seeing and scenes, a seeing and scenes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sort of picking and choosing experiences, I guess, by calling it gravity.
Yeah, but there's no experience, no experiencer. And once you have that conviction, then all experience can appear. Okay, very nice. Go to the beach, enjoy, sit, sun yourself. Very nice. Go have a nice dinner, as you said. Oh, I'm stuffed. I feel so good. Okay, do this. No problem. Because you know yourself in a real sense. Be normal, be simple, be humble, be always with you. This sums it up pretty nicely. Sri Ramakant Maharaj says, be normal, be simple, be humble, be always with you.
Would you say this does become kind of an understanding?
Conviction.
That's sort of the same thing.
Well, understanding is I understand this. I hope it's true. Conviction is, oh, so that I am that.
But sort of the uh, gradually, it seems like there's maybe some gradual understanding that, oh, as the layers are removed, there's like, we could call it like a deepening understanding or something.
Better to remain with yourself as self and to try a deeper meditation. Because again, once you know it's nothing. There's no try to come up with any kind of questions, concepts, anything. Why this? Why that? Nothing. Just and now go about, do your job, do your duties, take care of all your responsibilities because you know yourself in a real sense.
That's why I guess where the word gravity kind of popped into my mind. And I remember the Sargadatta said at one point
You
that,
need a form.
huh?
Gravity, you need a form, correct?
Uh,
How would you know there's gravity unless there's a form? So the form is within the illusion. Therefore, gravity is a concept within the illusion
well,
that
there
is
is
directly related to a form.
there is
And
the
you're none of
concept
these.
of they say the form of the self.
There is no form on the self,
In Das Bode, he uses that term, the form of the self,
which is formless.
which is, it's formless. It's not, it's a formless form. Yeah, well, it's just playing with words.
That's why the form, you could say clouds have form because, but in reality, that's a concept. I'm looking at this cloud and I say, oh, this cloud looks like a rabbit. But the cloud didn't create the rabbit. It's concept. This cloud looks like a rabbit. And again, it'll disperse and then there will be nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a matter of your perception of form, your perception of formlessness. You say, oh, formlessness is like space. That's why Maharaj says, if at all you want to compare, you compare yourself to sky or space. But even this is not correct because you could say, well, sky or space are objects and they're appearing. You can see them, you can experience sky and space.
Still element of duality there.
Exactly, because you are ultimate truth. So again, you can break it down to illusion and your own self. And it can be known, illusion. It
Yeah,
can be experienced, illusion. It can be thought about, illusion. It
yeah.
can be learned, illusion. It can be understood, illusion. It can't be any of those things, your own self.
Well, thanks for keep coming back.
Indeed.